I'm very warm welcome to this introductory courses on how nuances of gunas, can influence the uh, understanding of how herbs work. So the title is How Nuances of Gunas Help them understand the medicinal properties of herbs. So without knowing gunas, we cannot really understand Ayurvedic pharmacology. That's a key point. So why gunas matter more than what herb for what disease? Normally, when we come to Ayurvedic pharmacology, everybody wants to know ashwagandha for immunity, guduchi for liver, amalaki for aging. This is how we are looking at it. So disease to herb equation. But that does not give us a deep understanding of how the medicinal plants or herbs work. Ayurveda does not treat diseases with substances, but with an understanding of the qualities. So if we do not know the qualities and their implications in deep, we won't be able to use these medicinal plants, Ayurvedic medicinal plants, in an intelligent way. So, for example, two herbs with the same rasa or karma may act very differently due to guna nuance. That is a key point we will be discussing today. Two dravyas having same rasa, but their actions and profiles are very different. So, gunas are actually the bridge between the dravya and its action, the substance and the function. So, karma is not accidental. It's not that some drugs are acting in a particular way because of just their, of course we have in Ayurveda the concept of prabhava, but everything doesn't work just because of prabhava. It is only when we cannot explain the action through gunas that we go to prabhava. Otherwise we understand drug action by a very careful study of the gunas, and that is what we will explore in today's introductory course. How gunas help us to get a deeper understanding the action of the medicines that we use in our practice. So that is a key point, that it's not one herb for one disease. So when we know the gunas, we can use one herb for many diseases also, because once we understand the gunas, we understand the logic. Once we know the logic, we can use that same plan. Amalaki we can use for pitta pacification, we can use for reducing acidity, we can use for cooling the body. So multiple functionalities, even uses which are not mentioned in the texts, we can anticipate and predict if we know the gunas. If you know only what disease, what use it is for, then we will be fixed to that. We won't be able to use it in a creative manner. So, in this particular webinar that we are having today, we are trying to achieve the following learning outcomes. So, by the end of the lecture, what we are expecting all of you to kind of appreciate is that explain and understand gunas as the functional determinants of drug action. Even though always it is not easy to appreciate how exactly how many gunas are there, how they work, but overall it is the gunas on the basis of which we predict drug actions, not even rasa. So we will be able to appreciate that fact after we listen to this lecture, and then you will get some idea about how to predict therapeutic behavior of herbs using guna profiles. Like, for example, two madhura dravya substances are there. How do they differ from each other? Because there are only 6 rasas, so all madhura dravyas are not the same. What makes them different from each other? It is the guna. And then we will also appreciate how the guna-based reasoning is applied for clinical decisions. So this is the overall objective of our course. Today's discussion. Also the course on gunas. In fact, through this webinar, we won't achieve all these learning outcomes. We'll get a taste of it, but the whole course is focused on these learning outcomes. So now let us look at the basic conceptual foundation. What are gunas? Gunas are operative qualities inherent in dravya. So they actually mediate dosha interaction. Based on gunas, the dosha, first what will happen is the gunas will change the balance of the doshas. Doshas are themselves, understood in terms of guna. So when we know the guna of a dravya, we can first of all anticipate what will be the impact on the doshas in the body. And when the doshas, the profile of the doshas change, there will be a change in the dhatu parinama also. So it will reflect in a functional change translate to a structural reorganization. And in this process, there will be a Agni modulation and Srotas, in which all these metabolic pathways processes happen. They will also get the behavior will also be influenced. Therefore, when a guna interacts with the human body, there is a massive whole scale impact at the level of doshas, dhatus, agni and srotas. So ushna ruksha guna will increase vata pitta, it will increase agni, it will cause dhatu paka, and it will make substances move fast in the srotas. Like that, once we know the guna configuration, we will be able to predict how it is impacting the body. So now we have the gunas. Amongst the gunas, there are 41 gunas. In the course, we will learn more about it. They are actually 10 pairs, which means they form a continuum. In the sense, we have Ushna, Shita, Guru, Lakhu. They are not two different gunas. They are opposites creating a continuum. So these are actually, it is like a matrix. This represents the internal environment of the human body. The internal environment is completely, that architecture is determined by the interplay of the gunas. So when you shift, you can think of them as sliders. If you keep shifting each of these 10 pairs of gunas, the internal atmosphere will change. So we know that when we are here in this on earth, our temperature, humidity, these are continuously changing. And as the temperature and humidity changes, the behavior of the molecules will completely change. When there is more heat, there is more chemical reactivity. When it is cold, there is less chemical reactivity. So these are actually 10 pairs of gunas: Guru, Lakhu, Snigdha, Ruksha, Shita, Ushna, Manda, Tikshna. And when they shift from one end to the other, you can imagine them as pendulum. So there are 10 pendulums, each moving in different way. And when they move, the internal environment keeps shifting, and this influences the way chemical reactions, metabolic processes all happen in the body. So that is the Gurvadi gunas on base. These are the 20 parameters, 20 gunas, but 10 parameters or 10 items that we have to look when we look at the gunas in the body. But predominantly we are looking at 4 of them. That is Guru, Lakhu, Snigdha, Ruksha, Shita, Ushna and Manda, Tikshna. Most of the time we are looking at these 4, and even to make simple predictions, we look at Shita, Ushna and Snigdha, Ruksha. These are the most commonly used gunas to understand how the body is behaving. So you can see here some of the functional implications of the gunas. This is how we understand it clinically. The Guru guna can give nourishment and stability to the tissues, but it can, induce brahmghana, but also if it is used improperly, it can increase ama risk. On the other hand, Lakhu guna creates more digestibility and clarity. It will remove all excess unwanted. So if you are using Lakhu substances, fat accumulation, all that will not be there. It is Deepana and Lekhana. but overuse of Lakhu Guna can lead to weight loss, malnutrition. So in this way, we can predict clinical outcomes based on the gunas. Similarly, we have Snigdha Guna, which brings lubrication and softness. Therefore, it can pacify Vata. Ruksha Guna will absorb excess moisture. It will do scraping, and Ruksha Guna substances can reduce Kapha and Medas. Similarly, Tikshna Guna, if you take a substance with Tikshna Guna, it will, penetrate and move very fast in the body, and it will produce quick results, but also can lead to irritation and injury. So we cannot use Tikshna so much, but little. So we add Pipali or Karpura for quick penetration. Mandaguna will be gentle. If you want something to have a slow action, sustained action, we have to increase Mandaguna. It is safe, but it is slow. Tikshna is strong, fast, but can produce side. Most of the modern medicines are Tikshna. That is why they produce quick action, but also side effects. Similarly, Sukshma means micro penetration, bioavailability. It can enter into the blood-brain barrier, into all the small channels. Stula is gross action, mostly macro food that have macromolecules. These are all Stula. Minute micromolecules are Sukshma. So the philosophical anchor here is that gunas emerge from Panchamahabhuta dominance, and they operate through what is called a Samanya Vishesh Siddhanta, which means like increases like, dislike decreases, what is dissimilar. So gunas are not independent attributes. They are functional expressions of Panchabhuta predominance in a dravya. So this is why we are able to explain why drugs with same rasa act differently, why context, dose and processing, actually matter, and why Ayurveda is not talking about one drug, one effect thinking. I'm still seeing questions which ask which herb is good for kidney. That is not the Ayurvedic approach. We are not organ target based one-to-one equation. It is an understanding of how the whole body is affected by a dravya through the gunas. That is the whole purpose of this course. So, because of the Panchamahabhuta background, Samanya Vishesha Siddhanta, we are working on gunas, modulating it, and then coming to specific recipes and specific dosages that will help the body to restore balance. So Panchamahabhuta is the ontological base. Every dravya is made of Panchamahabhutas. Only the proportion is different. When the proportion of Panchamahabhutas change, the gunas will also change. So Prithvi, if there is Prithvi dominance, then the dravya will become Guru Sthira Kathina. If it is Apas or Jala, it will become Snigdha Pichila Mrudu. If it is Tejas, it will become Ushna and Tikshna. If it is Vayu, it becomes Lakhu Ruksha Sara. And if it is Akasha, it becomes Sukshma and Vishada. So in this way, the gunas will shift based on the combination of the Panchamahabhutas. So guna determines the mode of interaction. Rasa tells us what is tasted. Guna tells us how the substance behaves in the body. So two substances may taste the same, but they will interact differently with the dosha, dhatu, agni and srotas because their guna configuration differs. That is the whole point. So Samanya Vishesha Siddhanta is very important to understand the action of the gunas in the body, which says that Samanya or similarity will increase and Vishesha or dissimilarity will decrease. That is a way the body is balanced, because in the body we need a balance of all the substances. But the similarity and dissimilarity is operating through the gunas, not by rasa or dosha or in even just the name of the substance. So what is it that increases? Guna will increase similar guna. Opposite guna will decrease the opposite guna. So why this matters? When a drug is administered, the body does not respond to tikta. It responds to tikta plus lakhu, guru, snigdha, ruksha, tikshna, etc. So tikta plus ruksha plus lakhu will be kapha shamana and lekhana, whereas Tikta plus Snigdha plus Guru will be Rasayana Dhatu Pushti. So same rasa, but totally different outcomes. So the question is, if Tikta rasa reduces Kapha, why do some Tikta rasas nourish tissues instead of depleting them? Is it because of Virya, because of Vipaka? Yes. But what decides what will be the Virya and Vipaka? The Gunas. So when the Gunas change, the action of rasas will also completely change. So the Guna nuance can be understood here. Tikta has a general Vishesha relationship with Kapha, which means that Tikta is opposite to Kapha. But Tikta plus Ruksha plus Lakhu is a strong Vishesha, which means that if Tikta is associated with Ruksha and Lakhu Gunas, it will reduce Kapha strongly, depletion, drying, scraping. But if Tikta is associated with Snigdha and Guru Guna, it cannot reduce Kapha that much. It can only regulate it. So thus the same rasa can reduce pathology aggressively or modulate the physiology in a gentle manner. So this is why we must study gunas very carefully to understand Ayurvedic Dravya Guna. So the role of guna is rasa indicates the direction of action, but guna determines the manner and depth of action. So Samanya Vishesha does not act in opposite, they work together. So that is how the balance happens. So Tikta rasa, some extent of kapha decrease, Snigdha guna will balance it. So Samanya Vishesha, because of the interplay of the gunas, they work together. So the clinical reasoning with gunas, when you select a drug, you are unconsciously asking, do I want reduction or regulation? Do I want fast action or sustained nourishment? Do I want surface level or deep tissue penetration? All of these are guna questions, not rasa questions. So based on what you want to achieve in the body without an understanding. So if you want reduction or regulation, you have to use either very strong Tikta, very strong Ruksha Lakhu, or if you want regulation, Tikta with Snigdha Guna. If you want fast action, Tikshna Guna, sustained action, Manda Guna, surface level action, Sthula, deep penetration, Sukshma. All these are based on Gunas. So summary is that Panchamahabhuta defines Guna. Guna mediates Samanya Vishesha, and Samanya Vishesha of the Gunas explains Karma. So the hierarchy is like this. Rasa creates the initial contact. Guna explains the mode of interaction. Virya gives the direction and intensity, and Vipaka long-term outcome. So all the specialities and peculiarities of drug action in Dravya Guna are all Guna dominant effects. So comparative herb examples, one Guduchi versus Nimba, both are Tikta Rasa. Guduchi is Snigdha, Guru, and so Rasa in immunomodulation. Nimba is also Tikta but Ruksha Lagu, so Shodhana antimicrobial. So Tikta is not always detox. The Guna changes the profile of Nimba and Guduchi very differently. So again, example 2, Ashwagandha is Snigdha and Guru and Mrudu. So it explains Brahmana and Vata Shamana. But whereas there are many other Lakhu Tikshna stimulants which will not have such a profile. So it's just some gunas of Ashwagandha that make it so special. So Triphala has so much internal diversity. Haritaki is Lakhu, Ruksha, Sara, Vibhitaki is Ruksha, Kashaya, Amalaki is Guru, Snigdha, Shita. And when they combine, there is a guna orchestration which makes the whole formulation very balanced. So those Anupana, processing, Bhavana, Samskara, like rubbing, grinding, all this changes the gunas. So same herb, Triphala when given as Ghrita has a different action, Kashaya has a different action, Churna has a different action. In Churna, its Ruksha Guna will be strongest of Triphala. In Kashaya, moderate Ruksha Guna. In Ghrita, it will be very less because of the Snigdha Guna of Ghrita. So in clinical decision making, Guna-based selection helps avoiding adverse effects to personalize prescriptions And this also explains why standard formulations will fail. We cannot give the same medicine for everybody. Everybody with insomnia, we cannot give the same herb. We have to look at the gunas, the patient's configuration, and then adapt accordingly. So now when you explain it through modern explanations, if something is anti-inflammatory but causing GI irritation, like many anti-inflammatory medicines, it's because Tikshna Guna is more in that. Slow adaptogenic effects, Guru Manda Gunas. So then research translation. So Gunas can be considered as functional phenotypes, bridges to pharmacodynamics. And Gunas are actually Ayurveda's functional descriptors. They are not chemical, but they are not mystical. We use the Gunas to understand pharmacological action. And finally, the key take-home points are Guna determines how a drug works, not just what it does. So the nuances in Guna explain differential efficacy across substances, context-specific actions, safety profiles. While some dravyas are safe, why some are harmful, how those changes the safety profile. So we can say that when you master the gunas, the understanding of gunas, we master Ayurvedic therapeutics. So that much importance gunas play in the whole process of Ayurvedic understanding. So with that, we come to the end of our webinar with the closing thought that if rasa is the language, then guna is the grammar of Ayurvedic pharmacology. So that gives us a right perspective of the importance of guna in Ayurveda. So with that, we conclude and thank you.